I'm going to read because I want to be very precise with the language. And while I'm not equating the magnitude and severity of the civil rights movement to that of the cannabis industry, there are a lot of parallels and lessons that we can learn from. Economic empowerment was Dr. King's last initiative. I didn't know that, so thank you, Andrew. So let us push the cannabis industry forward while also ensuring that this prosperity is equitably distributed, particularly in light and in the spirit of diversity. Likewise, I'd like to highlight two core civil rights issues: medicine and social justice. There are people in this country who don't have access to medicine and either have insufferable quality of life or just die, sometimes both. More specific to Dr. King's fight is the issue of social justice. 3 years after his death, the war on drugs was launched. 2.3 million people are in jail right now. How many of them are in jail because of nonviolent drug offenses?
75%.
The exact number is not what matters, but that's actually a very helpful statistic. Bobby knows a lot more than I do. None of those people should be wrongfully and unnecessarily imprisoned. According to the NAACP, African Americans are incarcerated at more than 5 times the rate of whites. This is a primary manifestation of the new Jim Crow. So let's continue to embody Dr. King's ideals, pursue our aspirations, and take a stand for the industry and all the good it can yield to these ends on behalf of all who will benefit. I think a moment of silence would be antithetical to his memory. Rather, let's give a round of applause in his honor and the generations of crusaders he has inspired. I would like to thank in particular Tiana, Kim, and Andrew for helping with that. And likewise, I'd like to give a shout out to Tim, Thomas Sr., who's helping out with the drinks. You probably met him. Thomas Jr., Jackie, Cal, our newbie Mason. You guys probably met Mason at the door. And in absentia, Don, Ronnie, Sanjay, David, and Gary. This is a team effort. Round of applause for that. If you buy a VIP host committee ticket, and it is as fancy as it sounds to the person that laughed, not fancy, but it's pretty awesome, you get a shout out, and more importantly, you get swag from our sponsors, which we'll talk about in a second. And that second is now. Your CBD oils, I'm funny, didn't you know that? I thought that we've known each other for 2 years. Thank you. Your CBD oils provide CBD oils. If you didn't get them, come see me. As you probably guessed, your CBD oils provide CBD oils. Dr. Hartridge offered her Dr. Hartridge's Healthcare Solutions. She generously provided a truffle 7-pack, which is our key product. Dr. Hartridge, where are you? That's right, stand up. A stealth hemp company has provided 4 CBD fruit chews to each host. There were actually 8 individuals who purchased the host committee, so 24 total. I'd like to give them a special shout out. Eric Newman, so raise your hand. Eric Newman, cool, thank you, Eric. Chuck Pettit, Chuck, somewhere. Chuck, there you go, thanks Chuck. RJ Falcioni. Ronald? No? Somewhere. Catherine Schaefer. Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate it. Patricia Wright. Shout out, Patricia. Thank you. I definitely owe you CBD oils, so come find me after. Mitch Kulik. Mitch? No? Martha, I just saw her. Martha, there she is. Thank you, Martha, as always, the best. And Jade from MAPS, Jade Ullman. Thank you, Jade. Thank you very much. And so Bobby suggested I mention what the cost is. So more particularly, the price of the giveaways is actually more than the cost of the ticket. It was $100. It will now be $200 next time. So you guys got a lot of good stuff. So thank you to our sponsors for that, and thank you all for participating in this social dynamic pricing experiment. Got an econ nerd over there. So if you haven't signed up, by the way, our February 20th event is going to be pretty awesome. So just bust out your phones, nextevent.cannagather.com. As you can see, a lot of people here. We pretty much sold out, and by sold out, I mean we didn't sell out, we just let people keep buying, but there aren't enough chairs. So, if we can get extra chairs, that would be cool. If not, okay, cool, thank you. So speaking of February, next event will actually be a double header. Everyone is raving about cryptocurrency, and we will, apropos of that, bring in Duber Technologies, who will share their cannabis crypto company, who's also co-hosting the event. We may have a couple surprise crypto experts, but I need to figure out how to convince them to speak. So I'll keep you posted on that. And likewise, continuing with the financial theme, thank you to Gene. We'll have Hadley Ford, CEO of Ianthus, publicly traded cannabis company based in New York, market cap around 85 million. So please, please, please buy your tickets in advance. We might have to cut off at the door or last minute sales. And if you're thinking to yourself, should I come to the next CannaGather or not? For reference, if you came to the last January CannaGather, we had the CEO of Michael Gorenstein, CEO of Kronos, Michael Gorenstein. Was anyone here for that event? Great, show of hands. January last year. Last year. If you invested in Kronos, the stock was just shy of $2. Now it is north of $10. So that's a 5x gain you would have locked in 1 year. It is not investment advice. It is not indicative of future performance. Except for the CannaGather ticket. Invest in that. Jean Sullivan was our amazing 2017 speaker. Thank you, Jean. And she graciously connected us with Hadley, so it should be epic. So with that, now that I've bored you all, let's get some more interesting people. So raise your hand if you've built or are building a company. Awesome. Cool. Raise your hand if you're an investor. Cool. So if you're running a cannabis company and want money, talk to those people. If you're running a cannabis company and don't want money, stay away from those people, and those people will come to you. But seriously, that's how it works. Show of hands, whose first time is it here at CannaGather? Oh, wow. Cool. So I guess no one has been here before. Solves the next question. So first we're going to introduce the sponsors, then Kym B, who's over there, everyone knows her, and then our keynote, Chris, who has generously offered his time and knowledge for us all. So if you want a sponsor or know someone who is, please send them to me. I will be thankful. And as a reminder, we always have an after party across the street, starting at around 10 or 9, actually 9.
9:15.
Sorry, it starts at 9:15, generally goes till 10. Or 11, or 12. It went to 1 time. They didn't like that.
Several times.
So now they sort of kick us out at midnight. We have happy hour price drinks, so there's some incentive in case hanging out with me isn't enough. So those people don't want to hang out. But at least I'm funny. I got something. Andrew from ProGrow Tech. You want to come up and introduce yourself? So Andrew from ProGrow Tech are our lead sponsor. We're very appreciative of having them fly in for this event, so thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. This is a fantastic crowd, and I know a little bit about this. I was actually kind of similar to Josh. I was the campaign manager for the medical marijuana initiative in Arizona, so I was... Thank you. Together, and this is a hell of a turnout. So we just flew in about an hour ago and just ran over here, so we're excited to be here. My name is Andrew, I'm the CEO of ProGrow Tech. We are a commercial LED lighting company. So we design light fixtures to go into large-scale commercial facilities primarily. So anybody who's in the room tonight that is either investing in a large-scale cultivation facility or is a licensed owner of a large-scale cultivation facility, we would love to speak to you tonight. We've been in development of our fixtures for about 3 years now. We are a group of commercial lighting experts, but also cannabis cultivators. Actually, my partner Dave is in the back of the room there. Dave's been growing successfully commercially on a large scale for about 5 years now. And so it was all of the lessons that we learned about why lighting wasn't working well in an indoor environment, both high pressure sodium and then the new LED fixtures that were coming out. We found that there was an opportunity to develop an LED light fixture that would really work exceptionally well for a commercial cultivator, but no one had done a good job of taking the technology that existed and done what we call systems integration to bring that fixture together and deliver something that people really wanted. And what it comes down to is power and efficiency. So you need to have LEDs that are strong enough that they can compete with high pressure sodium lights. The second thing is uniformity, spreading that light out so you don't have any hot spots or any cool spots in your canopy. And then the third was understanding light spectrum and the importance that light spectrum plays in plant development. And what we're finding, and a lot of people, that if you're growing with ceramic metal halide lights, you know that full spectrum lights really punch above their weight when it comes to the wattage output. Plants don't like monochromatic light sources, whether it's a purple LED or whether it's an orange tinged high pressure sodium fixture. Plants prefer to have a full spectrum balanced diet of light source. So that's what we give the plants. It's a commercial grade industrial quality fixture. We give you onboard dimming and spectral control, so you can control plant morphology from clone through veg through bloom. Bluer light means shorter, stockier plants, so you can tame your stretchy sativas and high CBD strains using a bluer quality of light. Moving into plants that need to be opened up, like a really tight indica. If you have a plant with botrytis risk, using a warmer quality of light can open up that internodal spacing and provide more space for flower development. I could go on and on and on. I've only paid for 3 minutes to be able to steal your time here. I've got a lot of photos. The proof is in the pudding. What we're talking about is we have lights that out-yield HPS on a one-to-one basis. So you get your energy efficiency, cut your energy bill by about 50%, and no penalty on yield. In fact, we're seeing about 10 or 15% yield increases. But like I said, proof is in the pudding. We have a very attractive testing program, so anybody who wants to test our lights and see for themselves. I also have a lot of photos, a lot of data, and I would love to talk to anybody later on this evening if you want to come find me. My name is Andrew Myers at ProGrowTech, and again, what a wonderful turnout, Josh. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
There should only be 8 people in this room who talk to him. But if you talk to him anyway, you can do that. If you don't understand the joke, then just talk to him anyway. Anyway, or maybe it was a really bad joke. Craig? Where's Craig? Craig, all you. You're CBD oils.
Josh, I gotta tell you, this is a beautiful site. This cannabis community is priceless. Anyway, it's good to be here. I'm the owner of Your CBD Oils, the finest providers of medicinal grade, 100% organic hemp. Hemp has over 25,000 uses. We get food, fiber, clothing, and medicine. CBDs are a natural alternative to too much THC. Anyone who finds himself one foot over the line, use CBDs from hemp to lower your anxieties so you can get to enjoy life. We have various delivery systems for dogs and cats. We have in vape oil tinctures, oil sprays, capsules, CBD bombs, nano CBD bombs, nano water, hand thermal patches, and we have it for dogs and cats. Since all life forms have an endocannabinoid system, we all need to replenish our natural cannabinoids. By using CBDs from hemp, you replenish your endocannabinoid system and you attain a state of health. I encourage everybody to go to my website, Your CBD Oils, become an informed consumer. This way you make informed decisions and you can make informed questions. So I want to thank everybody for coming. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Craig just gave us a 20% off discount for CannaGather. Thank you. Thanks, Craig. By the way, Andrew, do you guys have the light? You guys get the light? They shipped a light here, so if you want to check out ProGrow Tech's light, it is here. So Hampton's MediSpa is another one of our sponsors. They provide telemedicine certification. So if you're a patient or know a patient who wants to get their medicine, then go to hamptonsmedispa.com. We got Tribe Totes.
Yes, Tribe Totes.
Tribe Totes, there she is. You want to come out?
If you guys haven't checked out Tribe Totes, really, really, really cool, revolutionary stuff. Here she is.
Thanks, Kim. So we sell vape accessories in California. We sell THC products. We sell CBD vape in New York. We had a pop-up shop outside, and we might be around for the after party, so say hi.
Cool, thank you. And if you're interested in getting hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, then she's a good person to talk to as well. And last but not least, last minute edition, we have one of the most influential, connected, experienced, and impressive people in the cannabis industry. Troy, you want to come up and say a few words?
Yes.
Thanks, Josh. It's great to be here. I've been talking with Josh and Gene about maybe coming to one of these for a long time, and then it just kind of worked that we were able to do it tonight. And wow, I was not expecting this many people. This is great. And I just want to also just thank Josh and also thank everybody here for really starting off with the cause and being reminded of that this isn't just an industry, but it's still a movement as well. As long as there's people being punished for this plant, we have a duty to help change those laws. I've been involved as an advocate since 1995, and through that, the first dozen years, we never thought for a million years that what we were creating was the next great industry. We were just trying to get people out of jail, and somewhere along the way, realized that there was this business being started, and that business could be such a powerful platform for political change and also for wealth creation, which can ideally, if the right people are getting that wealth, can then change the world again, right? And so we're in a very unique moment right now in history, and it's a great time to be part of growing this industry. And so back in 2010, me and Steve D'Angelo from Harborside Health Center formed the ArcView Group. And it has since grown to a group of over 600 high net worth accredited investors and funds that has placed over $150 million into over 160 companies in the cannabis sector. 50 million of that was done just last year into about 40 companies. And the way we do that is we talk to about 40 companies a week. We whittle that down to about 2 or 3 that we think there might be some interest within our group. And we send a video pitch to all of our members, and we have a webinar each week where those companies get a chance to present to companies. We have a whole online platform just for our members to be able to review those and find out which other investors are also interested in those deals. Because one of the things Jane Sullivan often says is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in this industry, you're going to get if you're an investor in this space, you're going to get like 50 million different pitches from different angles. Imagine every time you see a pitch, you can go talk to the last 10 investors that invested in a company similar to that before you decide whether that's the right deal for you to be in. Imagine you could look at 4 other deals just like that before you make an investment. It's $2,500 a year to be a member. and it's worth it. We host events all over the country. We have one coming up at the end of January in the Fairmont in Santa Monica. It's 3 days, it's a whole lot of connection, and it's like a family. In fact, we have a few of our family here tonight. You guys all know Gene Sullivan. Highly active in this space. We've got Bobby Paley as well, super active. She's working on some really interesting stuff. We have Nina Fern over here, yeah. And we have James Hirsch as well, fairly new member. Right? Is there any other ArcView members here? Oh, John Brecker's here. Oh, great! I didn't even see you. Good to see you, John. Any other ArcView? Oh, Jade from Maps. Great. And also as entrepreneurs, when you're raising capital, we want to hear from you. Getting investment from a group of people that is pre-qualified to be investing in this sector, that have put the energy and the time in, that already get it, it's worth it. Even if you have enough money coming from other sources, there's nothing like the validation of the insiders being on your cap table, and it's an incredible learning experience. I hope to hear from you regarding that. And then lastly, we also put out the most market research in the space as well. And we just put out a whole bunch of new reports. We're looking at about a $10 billion market in North America this year, growing to a $24 billion market by 2021. You will not find another multi-billion-dollar industry in the world growing at a 27% compound annual growth rate. Maybe cryptocurrency, but next year that could be the opposite, right? This is not going to happen here. So.
You stole my joke.
No. Anyway, thanks so much for having me, Josh. I'm really looking forward to the talk tonight, and I look forward to hopefully welcoming the entrepreneurs and the investors here to ArcView sometime soon. Thank you.
Let's go. Cool. No? Some more excitement? No? Kym B is about to come up there. She's gonna bring the energy. The one and only Kym B. Come on up. Bring us some news.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Good evening, everyone. Gather around. Welcome to the wild world of weed. I'm your plug for news and events. This is Cannabis with Kym B. What a wild world it is. This is the year of cannabis, my friends. 2018, it's exciting time. Who's ready to chase their dreams in cannabis? Hell yes. I have some trending news. Governor Cuomo proposes study of recreational marijuana legalization. Governor,
What?
hello, trending news. You heard it here first. Know that.
I literally just heard it for the first time.
Governor Andrew Cuomo wants New York to fund a study of the possible impact of legalizing recreational marijuana in the state. The Democratic governor said in his annual budget address in Albany on Tuesday afternoon. He also introduced several other proposals, including a possible surtax on pharmaceutical company sales of opioid medications and tax on companies that sell over the internet. Hashtag fucking finally.
There's no cursing. That's a good excuse.
Vermont is poised to be the 9th state to make marijuana legal for adults. Vermont stands ready to become the 9th state to legalize adult use cannabis. Last week, the state Senate passed a bill that now heads to Governor Phil Scott's desk. The Republican governor indicated he would sign the bill, with his reasoning being, quote, Lord knows a Republican could use public support these days. Hashtag Green Mountain Roasted. Inside Hook interviewed CannaGather's Josh Weinstein. CannaGather founder Josh Weinstein recently spoke with Inside Hook. Check it out for the details on investing, adult use in New York, and much more in the insightful read. If you are here because you saw the article, you are awesome. Hashtag gather around. California recreational marijuana companies overwhelmed by success, literally. California recreational marijuana companies were overwhelmed by the opening day success despite much of the state not participating due to licensing issues. Record numbers occurred despite the Bay Area receiving 4.4 magnitude earthquake early in the day. To be fair, most chalked up the rumbling to herds of cannabis customers lining up hours before the dispensaries opened. Hashtag everybody going green. Detroit freezes medical marijuana business license process. Detroit halted its medical cannabis licensing process due to the lawsuit that could shutter the city's 60 dispensaries. Dispensary owners alleged that the city planned to halt the process all along. City officials responded by saying, "What? Don't act like government corruption is new around here." Hashtag no smoke, no smoke. Did Jeff Sessions' latest move help protect marijuana? Yes. United States Attorney General, an all-around sad little man, Jeff Sessions' effort to roll back the Cole memo may result in bipartisan efforts to protect marijuana legally. The Attorney General's last misstep shows instability on a Republican cornerstone, states' rights, and really just proves that he's a total dick. Hashtag, you can't smoke with us. Second New Jersey adult use bill is coming. New Jersey could soon see big changes to its marijuana bill. And it's a good thing for you. If approved, New Jerseyans 21 and older can grow 12 plants and could allow existing medical dispensaries to start selling this year. Look at New Jersey, already doing its best to scrub away Chris Christie's legacy. Hashtag grow your butt. It is an exciting time in cannabis, and we are so thankful that you guys all showed up tonight. Over 266 tickets sold. It proves that we are one step closer in 2018 to getting what we want, right? High all the time. I am really excited to go to Adore Lay and chop it up with y'all tonight, so I will be there about 9:15, 9:30, chopping it up. So come, say hi, introduce, let's do some selfies. It's Adore Lay, it's 287 Hudson, it's one block up, and that's where the good stuff happens. Thanks, guys. Andrew, could you stand up? This show is not possible without Andrew Ward. He writes and helps curate the content. We are so thankful to have you as part of the team. Thanks, Andrew.
Couldn't find you before.
I saw you smile.
So no one came here to see me. You probably came here to see Kym, but you definitely came to see one of our most unique and impressive speakers. Not to take anything away from our unique and impressive speakers that are both sitting right here. I love you both. But Chris in particular, you all know his bio. I'll let him explain it himself. Chris, if you could come up here, thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with all of us.
Thank you, guys. This is quite the outcome. Nobody said there was free beer, so there must be something else. Setting this up. If you detect a funny accent, it is because there is one. I am from Belgium. I live about 7-8 years in New York. I came over here at the time of InBev combining with Anheuser-Busch back in 2008, which was a heck of a year for us. Everybody remembers what happened in 2008 as well, right at that time. There was a $52 billion cash acquisition of a company right in the middle of what was the biggest financial crisis. So if I have any gray hair, it comes from there, but the beer compensates for it, so keep drinking. Josh, did you plan any introductory remarks, or can I go ahead?
Which do you prefer?
Go ahead. Any smart questions before I launch here?
Could you give us some more of your background?
Yes, so let me see how I can... and I can move to both sides of the public and say hi on both sides. So my background is, I'm a classic CPG marketeer, which means consumer packaged goods. Most of my life, I worked in consumer goods, old school style, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and Anheuser-Busch InBev. Which means I started my career in Pampers. I had no clue about babies, but it somehow worked out. And then I moved up from Pampers detergents to products like soft drinks, Coca-Cola, etc. And I started to more and more get into the debate with parents of whether this is good for you or not. All these products come with emotion. And then from soft drinks, graduated to beer, which is religion for around the world. And when you're Belgian with more than 500 different kinds of beer, you're in the smack in the middle of it. And this is before craft beer started here. And then I stopped corporate life 5 years ago, decided to go back to my first love of working for small companies, investing in small companies, looked at the cannabis business, which had come on my radar screen during the beer time, somewhere far off as a potential social lubricant that could substitute or could it somehow complement the whole beer experience. But I dismissed it at the time because craft was much more important at that time in terms of its perceived importance for us as a group. So X years later, fast forward, I have a group of, I teach here at NYU Stern. In the meantime, I have my own firm. I invest in these companies and I give back about a week a month to good causes, which are two Belgian foundations, the Belgian American Chamber of Commerce and a young talent organization that sent me to the US back in '89. My love for the United States, ladies and gentlemen, dates back to '89 when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. A very different kind of Charlotte. Bank of America did not exist. It was the first Union Bank and Nation Bank, etc. That's where I discovered that Americans know how to market things. People were selling stress-free dough at that time, and I was fascinated how stress-free dough could get a premium, but Americans were paying for it. So I decided I need to understand what marketing is all about. And so that's where my passion comes from. I've been a marketeer all the time, looking at cannabis. The reason why I get in there, I have a daughter, she's 22, she will graduate this year from Stern. And we had this debate, amongst others, about alcohol. We have this debate about cannabis, as you would, between parents and kids. And I decided to put that CPG knowledge to the benefit of what I see as a phenomenal, fascinating growth category, if done right. And what I want to propose, I share with you here, is very briefly some thoughts about, from a professional CPG guy, how I would look at this. And then you can agree to disagree with it, agree to agree with it, or we can have a good argument about it, and settle it over a spell or two afterwards in the bar. So if you're with me, and no further questions?
That was my only question.
Let me get into this. So, when Josh and I discussed, he said, let's talk about from beer to bud, and he thought it was funny. And it's a joke we've heard many times. And essentially what I figured is, this is a category where sin and soul are constantly fighting with each other, which makes it interesting. This is a growing category in which very limited number of rules are set. And shaping those rules is what makes it great for the people that set the rules. And then live by them. I always said in marketing teams when I enter, my name is Chris, I do marketing. My name is not Christ, I don't do miracles. But I believe in them. I do believe in them. And I would think of myself more as a consumer scientist with a passion for space. I'm lucky enough, and we do it ultimately well enough with AB, that I can go into space. I'm going to go up hopefully in a few years in the Virgin Galactic suborbital space. I'll do that. So I love to take a few risks. Cannabis is part of that out there spatial thinking. But here is how I think about the category. What you see in that big bubble is the demand side. So I'm not talking about the supply side. The demand side, from a consumer packaged good perspective, the trillions, think of this as trillions of dollars being represented by the existing consumer goods business. And cannabis, that little atom here, of 10 billion this year, that is compared to the trillions in alcohol, food and beverage, food, pharma, cosmetics, etc., that all can benefit from what you guys are doing. And I think what will happen is that over the years, when consumer needs and economics work together, the fusion will intensify. The big bubble will start to morph with the smaller bubble and will grow at the same time. And down the road, in whatever future, when we legalize and thereafter, there will be no such thing as a separate cannabis business. Of course, there will be cannabis business with cannabis brands, but by and large, it will have become a respectable part of the CPG business. It's my thesis. This is how I think about it. So if you think of it of a timeline, something like that. I don't know what the time is, but something of that nature, where cannabis is a youth maker for a sleepy set of businesses. Now, this is an example of one. Today there was big news. Ferrero, who is owner of a brand like Nutella, bought a bunch of chocolate brands from Nestle. Now, we all know this one, it's one of my favorite. Do you know when Nutella was created? 1923, 50s? No? It's 1965. I was born in 64. This is my brand. I grew up with this. It took a while for Americans to embrace it, but they do embrace it quite a bit. So, guess to my amazement what I found last week. I was 2 weeks in California, traveling from LA all the way to San Francisco, going to check dispensaries, going to check what's going on. And I wanted to feel that vibe. By the way, I didn't feel the vibe in California. I've been at a lot of dispensaries where there was zero action at all. The permits is a mess. So this will all settle very, very quickly, but in terms of being behind, we are definitely behind. Now this is one of the products I found. So this will happen for pretty much everything. Whatever you can imagine will be spiked, like you have spiked seltzer. And so now, I'm not necessarily saying this is a good thing. This is an entrepreneurial thing. And it will be eaten by who and bought by who. That's how I think about this. So I appreciate and applaud the entrepreneurialism that is in this room. Don't take me wrong. And I'm betting on it. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is by investing in 2 companies, Toast, which I'll come back to, and Green Rush, an Amazon of cannabis. But these type of products, you need to look at it with 2 pairs of eyes, the way we would look at it and the way the industry might be looking at it. So, because as we grow, and as we grow from 10 billion to 24 billion and much bigger, the eyes of the world get on you and you carry what Churchill called the responsibility of greatness. I also read that Marvel Uncle Ben said this, Spider-Man's uncle. And for the French among you that study literature, Voltaire apparently said this too, but I thought Churchill was more serious. But remember this is what you carry. So as we sit here and as these meetings grow, this grows. Brands like Stella Artois go back, the roots of I studied in Leuven. I studied in where this beer is made. Can be worse. And the roots of the brewery go back to 1366. This brand, Budweiser, has seen everything since 1884, including that social experiment called Prohibition from 19 to 33. All right? These brands have survived and have become enduring, sustainable brands, surviving all of us here so far, because they were built on, they earn and re-earn and nurture their social license to operate. And then over and above that, are putting in the necessary capability to be optimized from a marketing perspective. It's that duality, the necessary condition and the sufficient condition, that each one of you that is going to build businesses or is in businesses, whether it's on the supply side or the demand side of cannabis, will have to watch out for. And again, I don't want to preach here, I just want to share with you the perspective of the other side of the CPG business looking at this atom and saying, what the hell is going on? So, I told you I was an aspiring rocket scientist. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm halfway through writing the book, The Rocket Science on Marketing Miracles. And this is when I teach with students, and I just did again, I use this rocket model because it's much easier to remember. These are the fundamentals of marketing, the way I always look at it when we build brands, whether it's Stella, Budweiser, whether it's toast or greenwash, I will always try to apply these fundamentals. It's about building sustainable pricing power. That's the top of the rocket. And then you can, I'm not going to go into all these details, but when you decompose the rocket, purpose is what we should be thinking about at this stage in the category. Purpose is the wings of the rocket that will keep it to its correct destination. Now let me tell you, the category as cannabis needs purpose, as do brands individually. What do I mean with the category? The category is as cannabis. This is backed up by evidence from marketing. The single biggest study we've ever done, there's about 2.1 million marketeers around the world. 5 years ago I was part of a steering committee where we did the biggest study ever, which appeared then in Harvard Business Review, on the differentiators, what eliminates the winners or separates the winners from the losers. Purpose is one of those. Often not talked about, but super important to keep your ship flying in the right direction. This presentation will be available, so you don't have to... Then Jim Stengel was a colleague at P&G. He has been a long time, before Mark now, he was a long time CMO of Procter & Gamble. Wrote a book when he became a consultant himself so many years ago, and tried to differentiate between purposeful companies again and the standard index to see, do you get a lift from that? So we corroborated some of the findings he had. So purpose matters to the bottom line. In beer, back in 2008 when we came into the United States, this was also when social media was getting to its height. Now, beer is 9,000 years old, ladies and gentlemen. It's the oldest product on the planet. Over 9,000 years has brought enemies and friends together. But we were being disrupted. We were being substituted by the thing you all hold in your hands. People were not going out anymore. They were having fun in Second Life. Remember that? Were we selling beer in Second Life? No, because everybody's virtual avatar was having fun in Second Life and not being out in the bars. So, long story short, if you can beat them, join them. What we ultimately said to our company and then to the category at large is we started to use this notion of marketing the category as the original social network. The original social network. And we'll see how long social networks are being clipped by social messaging apps at the moment, and we'll see how that industry evolves. But this industry had a massive disruptive effect on your behavior. And beer needed to adjust to that after 9,000 years as well. So, example, and then being purposeful around it, why do I exist as beer, helped also to go back, and you need to be at the table. During Prohibition, beer obviously and alcohol wasn't there, but those four industry groups, which is the craft beer guys, the bigger, the smaller beers, spirits, wine, have succeeded in the last budget round to get all their demands in the omnibus. So when you read this, there's been massive tax breaks approved now for the beer industry in the United States and for the spirits and wine industry as a result of being there and understanding how the game gets played. That's category management, and you do that in a purposeful way. You tell the government what you mean. And actually Troy, with credit to Troy and all the people, thanks to who we are standing here and already we are there, so credit to them. This is what we need to do much more of category. As cannabis, start thinking, why do I exist as a category? We need to be able to answer that question. We need to see that in the press. We need to see everywhere that advocacy and education, ground up, all the way into the national newspapers, why is cannabis good for you? Why do we exist? And that means understanding. I mean, I came here and I didn't know anything about all this. So I asked around, as marketeers do. Where does it come from? Where does it start? What's the story? Everybody pointed me to this book. Who has read it? Who has not read this book? Put it this way. Many people have not read this book. I advise you to read this book. So you understand during Prohibition where cannabis legislation came from. Why are people in jail? Then the canvas of legality that is there, and it's a fact of life. Whether you agree with it or not, it is what it is. All the way till that rescinding Cole memo, which I think is a good thing for the category as such that it happened. I take it as a good thing, forcing cowboys to retreat and professionals to go in and take it serious. So we should take this serious. This is not a given 10 billion or 24 billion. We have the consumer on our side. We have you on our side. These are the numbers that we are familiar with, and especially the young people on our side. This is a good thing to have, because we have voting power on our side, and we still have a bunch of issues to work through. That illegality is a massive dampening effect on the development of the category. We need to keep it away. So Jersey, very important, Vermont, very important, and one by one. And when Jersey falls and New York falls, the rest of America will fall. So this is very important to do. Keep doing it. Sitting at the table is what we will all have to do. I also own restaurants in, and that's old joke, right? In the United States, sit at the table or be part of the menu. That is what we will have to do. And keep away. We should not take anything for granted at the moment in this category. The NCIA, I don't know how many people are a member. Toast and Greenwich are not yet a member, but I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. If I understand well what the group is doing. I don't understand yet enough what the group is doing, who's in it, and how it's organized from a governance perspective. I don't know. So I'm learning still. I'm still Alice in Wonderland, trying to go around and understand how the category works. And people should understand how this category works, and it's not just some people doing this work for all of us, it's all of us, because without all of us it won't work. What the associations I do know, however, very well, intricately, are the ANA, which is the largest association of CPG brands. More than 1,050 members, everybody that matters in marketing is a member of the ANA in the United States. If you want to grow a big brand in the United States, you better become a member there to understand what they are doing, why they are doing it. In Canada, it's the ACA. How do they work? What are the issues? And the World Federation of Advertisers, I happen to be the president of for many years. So I know these associations very well. I would actually suggest, if I understand better what NCIA does, meet the presidents of those groups and see how they operate. Learn from them, steal some people, so that we can march faster. So category needs response, reads purpose. Brands need purpose. Let me walk to the brand part. Who knows Sir Kensington? Who's from New York? Knows Sir Kensington? Sir Kensington was an upstart in ketchup, mayo, and mustard that said we want to attack Heinz and Helmut. It's like craft beer to the big beer brands. Mark and Scott, our two entrepreneurs here in their garage, have started to make this fantastic product. And with the fund I'm working, I work still for the Belgian Family Fund that redeploys some of the money they make with AB InBev into food and beverage companies for the next 100 years. The family thinks with a horizon of 100 years. We actually did invest in Sir Kensington. I was part of the board. This is some of the work they did back to the rocket model. We did carefully think through what's the mission of this company. Why does Sir Kensington exist? So as a small company. Long story short, it was bought last year by Unilever, like Ben & Jerry's was, as part and parcel of the... So purpose, they bought it because of that. Not because it was a giant company. It still isn't. It was a cute, great company that they wanted to buy as a change agent inside the big machine of Unilever. That's why they were bought. Many of you here that build sustainable, good cannabis brands may one day be bought out because of who you are and what you stand for, without losing your soul necessarily. Unless you want to. That's serious stuff. Everybody has a price, right? But so the story of Toast is similar. We have, where's Puneet? Somewhere here, we have a few of the co-founders here in the room. There's Puneet, so ladies and gentlemen, if you want to talk to, this is the inventor of this brand. Puneet came to me as a NYU MBA, so we met there. He came to me one day. I had a number of student capstone projects, essays around cannabis, and devouring them. And then one day he pops up and says, I want to talk to you and see if you want to become an investor in my company called Toast. I said, long story short, yes, if it's going to be a responsible one. If it's going to be something that is helping shape the category as a vanguard brand. This was a prototype at that time. We are not even 11 months old. Roughly, our thesis was, this is what we found. Again, I'm not judging. I am not judging, very important. I'm just observing. What we found was the view of the market was this. Was a very confused, I mean for me, coming from Belgium, I had no clue about marijuana, it's illegal there since 1921. With a very confusing industry with this type of dynamics. Drug experience, potency matters a lot, people love that, okay, good. And they look and feel like this. Whether true or not, that's the perception. Perception matters in marketing. What we wanted, our thesis was, we want to change that. With that CPG background in mind. It will evolve to that. Without necessarily the other part disappearing. It's segmentation that's going to happen. So that was our thesis. Bring something elegant, controllable, and reinvent the joint. Essentially, we wanted to give people something they didn't have at that time. Control. It's like Nespresso for cannabis. Espresso dosed, a dosed experience that you know what it will do to your body. Everybody knows what one drink does to their body. One glass of wine, one cocktail, one cordial. You know what it does in terms of buzz. So we created the buzz effect of one slice of toast to a drink. And in a repeatable way. Because brands with endurance, if you want to have Stella Artois today, is the same one as. You expect similarity. You expect that you can rely on what quality and what type of experience you're going to have if you build an enduring brand. Same thing here. So that was the insight and the solution. Fast forward 11 months and you already have a very different experience because we keep going very fast and learn in the same way as a CPG brand would iterate fast. We learn about packaging, styles, sizes. We have 10 packs, 5 packs, 2 packs, 1 packs. We split already in 3 based on the need states and the bartender experiences that come back from us and the consumers that we are intimately working with to say, how was it? So that has yielded this range so far. But not just toast. In the meantime, the company is expanding from one product to more than one product. We're leveraging our skill set in pre-rolls. Pre-rolls is a very fast-growing, convenient subpart of flour, repackaging flour in a different way, and growing. So again, with the same clinical way that we would look at CPG, what's growing, what's working, how can you act on it? And this is a segmentation play here. That's starting to happen. This product was designed, D Cosmo, was designed with budtenders, for budtenders. So they co-created it with us, for example. So the category needs purpose, brands need purpose, and you need purpose. Because the category consists of human beings and of companies represented by human beings. What we will do here, what we decide in and after this room will matter. Who knows this word? Ikigai, Japanese word. I advise you all to look it up. It's a fantastic word in these 4 circles. I assume that in this room are people who love cannabis. They believe that's what the world needs. It's what they can be paid for. It's what you hope to be good at. In the bullseye of that, you will find personal meaning. That's Ikigai. Ikigai actually comes from the word, you know, the blue zones in the world is where people live happy and healthy over 100. Like the island of Okinawa. But there's a number of other blue zones around the world where people live happy and healthy. Ikigai, waking up with personal meaning, is what keeps them going. So what I wish all of you is that. But as you make choices in your individual endeavors, on the supply side, the demand side, wherever it is in the chain, the key thing is not to make shortcuts. Because that's what's going to kill the trust of the external view of this category. If we're going to make, say, okay, you know, this cannabis or this sugar leaf or this and that, you're going to sell something that was supposedly this quality and it's only that quality inside, you're killing it. Not just for you, but for a lot of us. So if we think through the supply chain, from growing to manufacturing to distribution and retail, there's decisions to be made each day. The issue of testing in this industry is a very controversial one. The machines I've seen are far from what they can and should be. Pesticides in growing is a huge issue, which as a consumer, would you expect pesticides in your coffee, in your Nutella, in your dish, you will say no and send it back. So the same, why would you not have that same rigor and acceptance in this industry? If you don't live to the same standard as what CPG expects you to live, then we're going to shortchange the category. So all throughout this wheel, every day, whoever sits in this room will have to think, what am I doing? How do I keep the balance? And I understand the entrepreneurial part. We all need to live and make ends meet and ensure that as an investor in a small company that you make it happen somehow. Just reflect on it as you make the decision. Back to the NCIA. This is actually a manifesto I did find on the website, which I think is a great thing. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this, but this is a good piece of work. It's only buried very deeply on the site. And too few people know this. But this manifesto written up here, say if you become a member, you do this, is a powerful statement if you live by it. And if we can hold that up to whoever is scrutinizing the category, then it starts to have teeth. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to unlock the promise, if this thesis is somewhere right, that cannabis is a youth maker for the larger CPG, and this is just the demand side, again, there's a whole ballgame going on the supply side with infrastructure, growing, seeds, lights, etc. But no sustainable category will work without the demand side. This is why I'm focusing on the demand side. If you want this, then I would only ask you all to think about this duality of there's a necessary condition and a sufficient condition to be met. And the necessary one is the most critical one for this category at this time, before we go too far. So I wish you all with that your own legacy. Thank you very much.
We thought that was good. So, what?
Water?
You want a beer? You want a Stella?
Stella, yes.
Galvanized? So, I went to MJBiz, the largest cannabis industry event, in 2016. And I met 350 companies, probably 500 to 700 people. And when I met you, you said that you were with Toast. And I instantly remembered a metallic gold card that I got from Praneet and exactly where I met him.
This one?
One of those. Whose idea was that?
I think Toast's creative direction owes a lot to a very smart woman, Gabrielle Rain. Gabrielle is the partner of one of our co-founders. She's the head of Viceroy Agency. It's an agency here here in Long Island. So it has the touch of a woman that knows how to deal with luxury brands.
Got it. And so, what is the thought process that goes into those sort of specific details, and what advice do you have for entrepreneurs here in this room?
Well, a brand is a brand. If you want to create a brand has a persona, has a look and feel, has a vibe to it. So whatever brand it is that you want to design, to me a brand is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And you can have brands in the luxury segment, you can have brands in whatever strata of the pricing pyramid that you want. And based on who you want to sell to, you translate that into visuals and icons and a feeling and colors and an experience that fits. I mean, if you want to sell Caterpillar heavy equipment, it doesn't look like Toast. So then you're serious, it's a serious solid brand and everything's breeds that solidity and that macho male heavy industry type of enduring qualities. And so similarly for Toast we do it one way, for D-Cosmo we do it the other way, for that third brand we'll do it another way, to reflect each time the persona of the people we want to talk to. And that's the basic rules of brand.
Interesting. So let's open it up to some questions. Who's got a question?
So obviously you have a real impressive background in CPG. So I'm involved in CPG as well, and I was curious if someone who's interested in building a business, like a commercially viable business long-term in this industry, like what parts of CPG would you recommend getting involved in or staying involved in, kind of to think about long-term plans in this industry?
Which CPG are you in?
Right now,
Packaged beverage? I mean, you could either go straight from there and see, well, if I spike this, what happens? You know, a few weeks ago, or right before Christmas, I did an interview for Bloomberg. And this was right after Constellation made their big investment in canopy growth in Canada. For 2 years, I have been telling the analysts, guys, watch this space, something is going to happen, somebody's going to make a move. They didn't believe it up until that time. When that move happened, all of a sudden, people wanted to talk. We had this discussion about green is the new craft. But at the same time, when you enter this category, this is going to be hard work. And for the people already in there, I've since received, because of an article, 300, 400 business plans of budding entrepreneurs that somehow found me on LinkedIn and whatever, and say I have this proposal, that proposal. I mean, all forms of beverages being spiked, all forms of other products being spiked, cosmetics that you can, I mean, brilliant ingenuity. Making it is going to be the easy part. I mean, inventing it, mixing, fusing it is the easy part. The very, very difficult part, as we learn as well from Toast, this is why I believe in experiential learning, in putting the money in, learning from it, and learning it the hard way. The distribution part, getting into the dispensaries that can actually pay you. I mean, sourcing the right material, time and again, in a repeatable way. Developing a playbook that is repeatable is going to be the very, very hard part. So inventing is going to be the easy part, I think, based on what I've seen. And each time, with some of those entrepreneurs I already had, was exchanging, and each time I sense a complete lack of appreciation for how difficult it is to work through the rest of the chain that I've shown you. Everybody believes that, oh, let's talk to that CPG guy, and magically, I will get distribution in 9 states. It ain't gonna work like that. There is no Target, there is no Amazon yet, there is none of that yet. So gonna have to work, put blood, sweat and tears in, like Churchill was saying, blood, sweat and tears and toil, to have a lot of pairs of shoes, walk out in the market, convince dispensary by dispensary, or another form of e-commerce, use Greenrush, to sell your wares. Look at customer number 1, number 2, and it's always the same thing. You build a business one customer at a time. And when you make that business plan, all the business plans I've seen so far, they assume that automatically they'll be in 9 states. I mean, guys, I would have asked a simple question, but I know it's the wrong one. Whatever is smoking is what I would have said in my previous. That's what I would have said in my previous life, and now I take that serious. So.
Question?
Hi, my name is Eric Beebe. I'm a brand marketer, and one thing I observe in especially smaller companies, startups, is that when investment money comes in, it changes people's purpose and the direction of the company in a significant way. What kind of advice do you give to the investors in the room and the entrepreneurs who are looking for investments in the room so they can create partnerships that will create sustainable brands going forward?
That's a great question. It's always a tension. It's this is back to sin and soul. What's the price of your soul? And are you in a corner or not? And can you find investors that will share the values that you stand for and that you want to build? And if you don't want those investors, don't let the guys inside that are not aligning with you on a strategic level of where you want to take that brand. The discussion, for example, on Sir Kensington between Mark and Scott of entrepreneurs that have been working on their business for, say, 6-7 years, and then they get this offer from a big behemoth like Unilever, then the question would be, well, you're gonna take us out. I mean, or you're gonna, the soul that we built in Sir Kensington will be lost. This is actually one of the biggest reasons, and to his credit so far, the CEO, Paul Polman, who believes in purposeful brands, had a long conversation with them and said, you guys will keep doing what you're doing. We checked it with Ben & Jerry's before. We checked it with Dollar Shave Club. We checked it with other brands that they bought, and they actually kept their word. In this case, it worked. Equally, I can give you stories where the investors took over and changed the direction. You make that decision, who you let in. It's your choice. Unless you didn't have a choice. And then again, you have no, and it's your choice.
By the way, on the topic of Sir Kensington's, it was, you know, brand, ketchup, mustard, having all these values. Like, how big of a company can that be? And ultimately, they were acquired for 600 million.
There's no number. There's no number that I will ever mention.
Some sort of $500 million exit for this like ketchup, mustard. I wasn't trying to gouge you for information, but just for everyone in the room, like, you know, ketchup, mustard, mayo with an ethos. They made a lot of money, and it was good. And good for this guy too. I didn't even know that. Do you want to talk about Green Rush, by the way? Or?
Green Rush is, well, they would designate themselves the Amazon of cannabis, and so it's a different place. So where Toast is a real product, Green Rush is a technology. It's a technology play that is a marketplace bringing about, I don't know, 15,000 consumers or much more in the meantime on the one hand, and about, say, 500 dispensaries on the other hand, and about 27,000 products that you can choose from. You go on you download Green Rush. It's available. It's very operational at the moment in California, moving slowly out, but California still so much to do. So you can very easily on your phone, whatever you want, you click, you choose anything of those, like Amazon. Out of the 27,000 SKUs you buy, comes to your basket, and it gets delivered where delivery is allowed at home, or wherever you want to meet the driver. I went on routes. There's a jungle out there in terms of how you can deliver, to who you can deliver. People don't want the driver necessarily to come to their home all the way up. They meet them downstairs. Exchanges are happening at a car, things like that. So it's still in early stage. When you do this, in the beginning it felt like, I mean, I am tracked by the FBI. I'm sure somebody's watching this, but it's a legitimate business under the state, in the state of California. No problem, and it will settle. It will evolve. It will grow. It will, and that's the fantastic part about it. And how many times in your life can you be part of an industry where this is still happening this way, and where you have a chance to impact it? That's the great part about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have to enter on Spring Street instead of, that's it. Joke for all the new people. We used to come in that way. This way. Now we come to,
Hi, my name is Nikisha, and I work in the pharmacy world. So you talked about purpose, and I'm curious as to what the industry's social code of ethics would be, meaning that who do you think will have access to that industry, especially to leave it like blank? Like there's a lot of people who were from the hood who have been entrepreneurs. So would they have access to that industry if it is expanded and legalized? Or I guess another way to look at this question is that what would a black market look like when this industry is legalized?
Hopefully empty. That black market should be gone if this is organized well. That's one of the ideas. If this is professionalized in the way we want it to, with a large participation of all. So I think I came to America with the same understanding as anybody in the American dream, which is you try to make it here, you try to take that opportunity. You said how you participate, you just get in and pay your dues and work for it.
I don't think capitalism and socialism can really coexist. Like, in the sense of, if you have access, if certain people have access to that resource in order to expand this industry, correct? What about those who were ostracized beforehand to have, and were not able to have access to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Chris jump in as well,
Yeah.
but I think that the point that you're making with the first question is like, you have all of these entrepreneurs in the gray market, and what's going to happen to them as legalization comes, and you have small business, medium-sized business, even big business, and it's a legitimate problem for those individuals who are now probably not going to have means of income. In part because they're also not able to actually work in the industry in most states, particularly if they have previous criminal convictions or a record of some form, and it sucks. I don't know if there's a good answer, but all yours to different persons.
Well, I understand, and whether the question and where you come from determines what. Maybe study what happened post-prohibition and see how people made the most out of it at that time. And there must be plenty of inspiring stories of people from the hood that capitalized on the opportunity at that time and can serve as inspiration for the generations now to do the same and repeat that in a clever way without making the mistakes of their fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers. So I'm sure this is wide and big enough for many people to be good for them if they find a way to participate. There must be. It's there was a question over there.
Rashida?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rashida Dawson. I'm also
Hi, Sheila.
CPG, ex-CPG, thank God, but I'm now in cannabis. But I wanted to ask two questions. But you asked such a great question, and one of the things I wanted to say is that while when you say you have to have a purpose when you come in the industry, it doesn't mean you only have to have one. And so the purpose for me absolutely is to make money, but being from East New York, the purpose is to make sure that I'm reaching back and ensuring that people can go from bale to bud that can actually get into the industry. So part of it is also defining that in your purpose for your business, ensuring that you're partnering with people appropriately who already are activists in that space. There are a number of organizations that have been doing it for decades, and they're now coming to the forefront in order to, I guess, rectify what's happened in the past. But it has to be intentional. Sorry, I wanted to just make sure she knew how to do it, which is very much what he's saying. My question I had is because I love Green Rush. I actually have tried it, and I thought it was amazing. And I think that it's interesting because Amazon started with 33,000 books, and you have about 27,000 products. And I'm so excited on where they go next. Given what you said about the spaces, is there any plan to extend beyond just the actual flower to fill in the holes that any cannabis user would need in terms of...
For Green Rush, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yes, it will enlarge its offering, just like Amazon can offer anything down the road. Anything that cannabis users will want to find online will be offered online. I mean, of course, and if you can sustain the supply and be there. This is a young company that focuses at the moment on California, a bit on Nevada, and hopefully one day, as soon as possible, in all the other states where it's legal to operate.
So one last question. Can I buy you a Stella at the after party?
Absolutely.
Okay.